Good morning, everyone. It's Yvonne here to do your What's Cracking reading. Firstly, as I always do, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I have now the two channels. I have the other channel where I do the star sign readings, the Astro Tarot. Interested in that in the block below. And now doing podcasts. And the lovely Susie's agreed to join me on, or I've agreed to join on a podcast. So we're going to be doing another one shortly. I'll give you more information when we get closer. But if you're interested in podcasts, they are in the block below. I did post that I'm at Bathurst on the 19th of March. So if you're in the area and you want to book a reading, let me know and I'll put you through to the person or Danielle, who organises those fairs. They're the only fairs I'll be doing this year. The Living Wellness event. So if you're interested in that or maybe close to you, do put all the information on my Facebook page and where you can find me. All right, let's get into this reading. Did I say I was using the Muse Tarot? And we're starting off with the Judgment card, which in this deck is the Awakening card, which I guess really is what it's all about, right? I think it's a very good naming of a card. I feel like the judgment itself is not really so much about being judged, but asking if we've learned everything that we needed to learn and are we ready for the next level. So this sort of card comes in the Major Arcana and it comes right at the end. And for many of you, you understand the Major Arcana tells a story of a cycle. And we go through the cycle. When we get to the Judgment card, it's the time to look back to see if we've learned the lessons we needed to learn before we open up a new episode, I guess, for ourselves. So for me, an awakening is something that's, for me, taken most of a lifetime. Some people seem to believe that somehow an awakening is a one-off event, and it really isn't. I feel that there's a lot of peeling off of your past, a lot of regrowth, and a lot of building. So it's sort of like I always say, to me, an awakening is like an onion, where you're peeling back layers to reveal new tissue underneath. And when that tissue starts to get a little bit sort of old, then that layer comes off. So you keep building on what you already know. I don't feel personally that this is something that stops, and I know people will say to me often, I wish I could go back to how it was because it's so hard now, but it's really difficult to go back and not know what you know, not unless you have a brainwash. So for me, the awakening is talking about perhaps a new stage in your life where you're going through some sort of rebirth or some sort of new awareness that you haven't gone through before. But it's also talking about sort of finishing something off and leaving something behind. So it is really like a rebirth. And when the Judgment card, for the Judgment card, what it talks about, as I said before, is reviewing where you've come from and whether you're ready to move to the next lesson, the next stage, or whatever. Now, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. For many of us, it's only just coming to terms with something, maybe understanding something about ourselves, maybe understanding something about somebody else, maybe having an awareness of the world. Like I always say, you know, the one thing about awakening is that you become more observant, you see things that you didn't see before. And once you get into that energy and get out of your head and the overthinking, you start to see the universe as it really is, rather than through a lens that you've created for yourself, either through your childhood or through your adulthood. So for me, this makes me feel like there's something here that's coming. Oh, we have the Magician. So you're skipping straight from one. Okay. So I feel like what the universe is saying to you here, and which I always say when I'm doing readings, is when you peel back those layers, when you get rid of the stuff that you're carrying in your ego that no longer serves you, you open yourself up to manifest what it is you want. It's very difficult to manifest something when you're in a low vibration or you're carrying around a lot of stuff that really doesn't work for you. I feel like the biggest time this is when you're trying to manifest in a relationship when you've just come out of a very toxic relationship, because you're trying to manifest from that place, which isn't really good. So when people come out of relationships, it's always about getting back to yourself and being able to let go of that stuff that you've carried around with you for so long. It is sort of more difficult for people to grasp, I feel, because we can get quite desperate and needy when we're trying to manifest something, and really it can't come from that place. It needs to come from a very, I don't really know how to explain it, from a very pure place. That's why we teach gratitude, and we teach not desiring, but, putting your goal out there and just going for it. Because when we get desperate and we keep wanting that thing every moment of the day, we seem to just push it away or end up with something that is going to teach you the next lesson. So whatever it is, you're getting the Magician. So I feel like you may be trying to manifest something in, and I'm feeling with this Awakening card that maybe this is a good time for you to put out to the universe what sort of manifestations. You have somebody coming towards you here, and I feel like I had this yesterday. And the Nine of Cups is coming. So it's some sort of wish coming to you. Now, with the Knight of Swords, there is always action being taken by somebody. And this could be somebody who falls under the air signs, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. But I try not to focus on that too much, because it could be somebody who is ready to speak up, ready to speak out, ready to tell a truth. Now, I feel yesterday we had a lot of this, so I'm going to go through, because you've got the wish card here. I want to sort of read a few more cards. You have some sort of soul contract with somebody here, some sort of connection with somebody that maybe have been, when you have this sort of connection to somebody for whatever reason, whether I look at it psychologically or spiritually, when we have a strong connection with somebody and things don't go the way they perhaps you've wanted them to, you can put your life on hold for this. And the thing is, you can't do that, because what you're doing is you're holding yourself back from learning and developing and understanding. But some people find it really hard, because the pull towards that person is so very strong that they can't feel that they can move on from it. And that is really hard, because you're then trying to manifest from a place where you are desiring something and you're in a low vibrating energy. So I always say, like, if you're wanting something back, or something to come in, new love to come in, for example, you've got to be in the place where you need to be to bring in the kind of love you want. If you're going to settle for whatever comes your way, that's different. If you're happy with whatever you're meeting, that's fine. But for many of us, once we've been in these relationships, we want so much more. We're not willing to settle for halfway anymore. We want that person that's really going to fit into our idea of what we want for ourselves. So there is very much this energy. We have a Queen of Cups here. See, this is where it comes from. Somebody said the other day something about why is it important to love ourselves first. And I thought, from my perspective, it sounds really crazy, but I can remember when I first was told that I didn't love myself and my heart was closed. I remember thinking, how on earth do you love yourself? Like, what do you do? And when people said things like look in the mirror and, use affirmations and things like that, I totally did not understand. I thought it was a load of hoo-ha, but I did it anyway. And I realize now, looking back, how that opened the door for me to understand how to love myself. So when we're loving ourselves, it's so important, because we don't sacrifice ourselves for other people. We don't people please anymore. We respect ourselves enough to say no. We don't fall into patterns that really don't serve us anymore, because we see the patterns. We don't allow people to treat us badly, because we see that. We see what's going on. And this is what loving yourself is all about. It's understanding you're as good as everybody else. You don't have to be better. You don't have to be more outstanding. You never need to be competitive. It's not about that. It's about understanding that you are in the world as important as everything else. And what threw me into that was when somebody said to me, how much do you love your children or your family? And people would say, oh, I die for my children. I love them so much. And then I ask them, do you feel the same way about yourself? And they say no. And that is because their level of love is higher for everybody else than it is for them. And that's not the way it's meant to be. We are here to learn how to love ourselves first and then spread the love to everybody else. So to me, with the Queen of Cups coming up here, this is very much about self-love, bringing in the kind of love you want to have, whether that's somebody you've already known, somebody you have a crush on, somebody new. You want to bring in the kind of love that you equal, that you are the same as. So if you're vibrating in an energy of self-love, then you're going to pull towards you the person that's going to love you the same way. All right, let's see what's going on. I have the Five of Swords coming through here. We have the Justice card. See, karma written all over it already, with the Knight of Pentacles and the Three of Cups. There is a real energy here of leaving things behind, learning to walk away from things even though you don't want to, because you respect yourself enough to say, I'm done here. I can't keep bringing myself down to suit other people. So there's a very strong feeling with that Five of Swords that you're learning that leaving things behind isn't necessarily something you want to do. I think I've talked about this, and sometimes I don't realize how much the readings correlate over a period of time, but I feel like this may have been something I've talked about recently with addiction, because we don't give away certain addictions because we don't like them. It's the truth. We don't like what they're doing to us. We don't like how they're making us in our world, but we don't necessarily let go of them because we don't like them. So if you have an addiction to food, sometimes it's really hard to say, I'm not going to eat badly anymore. I'm going to eat really healthily, because we all love the chocolates and the cakes and the creams. But we can make that a point where we say, well, we love that, but I know it's not good for me. And it will be hard. It's difficult. But that's what an addiction is. So it's being able to say, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be there anymore. But I want to understand how to do without that. Codependency is like that with people. Understanding that you are treating people a certain way and that you don't treat yourself the same way. But letting them go because of that is sometimes very, very difficult. But we do it. We walk away from it. So for me, this is part of a karmic journey, letting go of what we believe is no good for us anymore. Even though it's difficult, we're doing that. And I feel like here, because of that, there seems to be this energy of, and I feel like for some of you, this may be a family issue that we're talking about here. Being able to let go of something so you can have something more. Sometimes letting go of things isn't exactly what you want to do, but you know it's not good for you. All right, so we have the Five of Cups, leaving the past in the past. Three of Swords, leaving the pain and heartbreak behind, and finishing out that circle here. So that's why you're going through a judgment. You may be looking back and asking yourself, have I done the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Did I let something go? Did I walk away from something? And was it the best thing for me? And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to see whether that is the case or not. Because sometimes, as I said, we walk away from things because we know they're not good for us, not because we don't love them or like them. And this is what's happening here. There's a cycle closing out, that you're leaving something behind. And again, I feel like for some of you, this may even be family, friends. It may be a romantic interest. But you see, in walking away from it and saying, I I don't want to put myself in the position of lowering my own energy or disregarding my own feelings. It's changing something within you here, because you're manifesting something new. You're manifesting something back in. But it's because you're choosing to turn your back on it. I have a feeling this has come before. Temperance. So it must be very strong in the energy. Two of Pentacles, yeah. And the Six of Wands. There's your victory card right at the peak of the reading. Underneath that you have Temperance and the Two of Pentacles, which cards both talk about bringing balance back. So it may be that you're learning to let go of things. Absolutely. With that sort of Justice, Five of Swords card, this is about understanding that you're in some sort of cycle here where perhaps you're expecting more from doing the same thing all the time. And that is, I can't remember how the saying goes, but it's, you know, trying to, and somebody will do this for me for sure, you know, trying to get a different result by doing the same thing over and over again. That's a cycle. That's a cycle here that needs to end. But the only way it ends is by you standing up and turning your back on something and saying, that is the end. That's your karmic lesson here. So for me, there's some sort of waking up to that here. And you're now manifesting what it is you want. Somebody is coming in here very, very quickly and bringing a wish to you here. So I'm not sure what it is for each and every one of you, but something here is going to, it's going to show you how you're doing. It's going to show you that you can make change by choosing not to put up with it. I hope that's what they're saying. All right, let's have a look at an oracle card. We're going to draw from the Shaman's Dream. No, don't want that one. There it is. Sacred Contract. All right, let's see what that says. Card number 7. Commitment, sacred contract, and the greater good. You're being invited now by the universe to enter into a sacred contract. The Covenant card may also be a call to recognize that an ancient agreement you made with Spirit needs to be reviewed. There you go. That's the end of the cycle. Or cancelled or torn up. Is an opportunity showing right up now that's full of promise, but you are unable to sign and seal the deal and commit to it. The reason is that it needs to be elevated to a sacred covenant. A covenant must be founded on the truth. So this is about understanding your truth, understanding who you are at the very core of you. The covenant is not about your agenda only. Spirit must be invited to come to the table as a guarantor of the good faith of all. Understand what shadow elements remain hidden. The covenant breaks down and becomes a contract with an unspoken dark side that is inevitably fulfilled. So I feel like here, what Spirit is saying here is that something that you have been doing up until now needs to be completed and finalized. It's not like you need to get rid of it completely. It's part of who you are. But instead of working to that agreement, you're making a brand new one. So what you're saying is, I've been doing things like this in the past and it hasn't brought me a lot of happiness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to understand how that fits into who I am. I'm going to take the lesson from it and I'm going to love myself anyway, but I'm going to do it differently from here on inwards. And that's what this feels like to me. It's almost like you're making a new agreement with yourself to do things differently going forward, but you're not going to do them the same. So for example, if you're a people pleaser, you say yes to everybody all the time, even when it comes, I've seen people put their own plans on hold to say yes to somebody. And I feel like that is a really big indication that you do not think you're as good as other people. Because instead of saying, well, actually, I can't, I've got my own plans already, you're saying you're more important, your need is greater than mine. Now, if that need is greater, there is a measurement there. But if somebody's doing that to you and the need is not, then I would say to you, rethink that answer. So this is about putting your old way on hold and maybe looking at it differently. Instead of always jumping and saying yes at your own detriment, maybe looking at it and saying, is this person's need greater than mine? And that's what you're doing in a soul contract. You're saying, I'm going to do it differently this time. I'm going to stop. I'm going to consider. I'm going to measure up whatever I need to do. And then I will decide if it's the right direction to go in. That's just an example. Much love to you all. Thank you.